Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's time for our weekly mindfulness moment. So come in and join, and let's have a time of mindfulness together today. We like to provide moments of spirituality for people who have lost their spiritual community. And so on Tuesday mornings, this is our mindfulness time. Little corporate contemplation together. And so if you're able to join for a bit today, just post in the comments where you're joining from and we connect around place. My name is Paul, known as Pastor Paul on a lot of social media. And I live in Fresno, California. I'm a little bit stuffed up today. Sorry to hear about that. And as I enter a spiritual moment, I like to use incense to give my physiology a sense that we're going into a spiritual moment. So I'm going to light my incense now. In my evangelical upbringing, we were taught that things like incense were vain repetitions or high temple texts or, new age practices and therefore evil, just as we were practicing a formality of ritual, of communion, or of the Lord's Prayer, or all kinds of Christian ritual. And somehow we're taught in Christianity that our rituals are okay. It's the other rituals that are bad. And we're also taught that flesh, humanity is bad. And so anything that would make our body say, ooh, that incense is really pleasing and helps me feel like it's a spiritual moment, we would say, well, that must be bad because it pleases the flesh. So it's an anti-human belief system, and it tells you to not be human, that your humanity is bad. And I want to tell you today, your humanity is very, very good. You are very, very good. And that is the premise by which we come together for our mindfulness moment, that we are good-hearted people, full-hearted people wanting to live the abundant life promised by the Christian teacher, Jesus, in the Bible. So today we're just going to talk about how do we live in peace in the midst of cultural meltdown. It seems like we're in a cultural meltdown right now, doesn't it? Oh, and by the way, I like to use prayer beads for my mindfulness moments. So I have my prayer beads to help me stay focused and keep my attention on the moment as I'm enjoying mindfulness. And if you're just joining us, let us know where you're joining from. And we'll share this moment together. Cultural meltdown is a myth. I guess if I don't have eyes, I would agree with you. If I didn't read, I think we are a culture in an uncrossable bridge moment where you have two people who are speaking completely different languages from different mindsets that cannot have discussions together. And a culture, you have no culture at that point. What you have are two cultures that are banging into one another. And in our culture today, one of those cultures has declared war. They literally say we are in a culture war. And so I'm a little bit confused that you say cultural meltdown is a myth, and then you say there are two Americas. That sounds like a cultural meltdown to me. So come join us in this mindfulness moment. And let me know where you're joining from. Yeah, if you can, share this live. Follow me on TikTok, subscribe on YouTube. And we do this every Tuesday morning. So how do we have peace in the middle of what seems to be a cultural meltdown? How can we not be terrified? Hi, Minnesota. Glad you're here on TikTok. How do we avoid living in fear from it all? Now, I'm not saying don't be scared and be in denial of worry when we see gunmen shooting in Buffalo or things like that, and then Republican elected officials saying it was a setup from the federal government. So we can be scared, but how do we keep from having fear? How do we have peace in the middle of that moment? And I'm reminded of a Bible verse that a lot of people will cling to as a life verse that's very important to a lot of people. I'm going to show that verse on YouTube. You won't be able to see it on TikTok. But this verse is very important to a lot of people. And let me figure out how to share it up here. Technology gets me sometimes. And that verse is Jeremiah 29:11. A lot of Christians use this verse for comfort. And Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare." Sorry, I'm looking around my camera to see it. "And not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." That's the English Standard Version. And so we can cling to that verse and say, I'm going to use this as comfort for myself, that there is something mystical and supernatural looking out for me and drawing me to hope and a future that can be great comfort. But one thing I like to tell people is this verse was written to a group of people that were in the middle of a cultural meltdown. Good morning, Jamie. Yeah, this verse was not written to people in a prosperous, peaceful time. It was written to people in the middle of cultural meltdown. There were prophets running around saying, no, Babylon is not going to overtake our country of Israel because we are God's favorite country. We are God's people. God wants to make our country great again. God's plan on earth can't survive without us, his favorite country, which sounds a lot like a particular religious group that exists in America today. God wants us to be a Christian nation with Christian laws, and so let's tell a raped woman she has to give birth. And Jeremiah, the prophet who's given credit for writing this book, is saying, no, our culture has forgotten to take care of the poor, the foreigner, the marginalized, and the widow. And so God will allow us to be overtaken by Babylon. And Jeremiah is known as the weeping prophet. He even wrote a book called Lamentations because his message was always harsh. No, you people are fat and comfortable while not taking care of the poor. God won't stand for that, was the message of prophets like Jeremiah and Isaiah. And in the middle of that cultural meltdown, Jeremiah says, I know the plans I have for you, and they are to prosper you and give you a hope and a future. And so many of us today are saying, how do I have peace in the middle of all that's going on? And I think sometimes we forget a verse I want to use to encourage us today together in this mindfulness moment. And on YouTube, you can see it. It's Jeremiah 29:7. Jeremiah saying, you're going to be overrun by an enemy nation. You're going to be taken into captivity. Life is going to be hard. And he says this as you're being taken into captivity in Jeremiah 29:7, just a few verses before that life verse for so many people. It says, "But seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray for that city on the Lord, to pray on behalf of that city to the Lord, for in its welfare you will find your welfare." That word welfare is the ancient Hebrew word shalom. And shalom, we often translate as peace or lack of conflict, but shalom actually is not lack of conflict. Shalom literally means wholeness. It means to have an abundant life. It means to be whole, body, mind, and soul. Sometimes wholeness comes walking through conflict, not being afraid to stand for something good. So in a time where we're fearful that things are melting down around us, we can pray for the welfare of our city, even if we think it's evil. And maybe even more than that, we stand for the welfare of our city. We stand with the oppressed and marginalized. We love the poor, because our welfare is found in standing for the welfare of others. Just breathe that in for a moment and relax, thinking, if I care about the welfare of others, I'm caring about my welfare. Jesus said, if you only love those who are your family, who are close to you, who look like you, how are you any better than the worst sinner in culture? But if we allow our heart to start to wish for welfare, for the poor, the marginalized, the outcast in a city, and pray for our city's welfare, even those that we don't think deserve welfare, our hearts are changed in that moment to be able to say, maybe there are some good plans in the midst of this cultural meltdown. Could it be that if on a day like today I'm sitting with those who feel marginalized by the shooting in Buffalo, that feel scared that our country has forgotten them, I can find my welfare? And to do that, we have to know who we are. And we have to live in that moment of who we are. And so that's what mindfulness is about, is sitting and feeling. So join me in our corporate contemplation moment. And just allow yourself to sit in your chair. What do I mean by that? You're like, of course I'm sitting in my chair, or I'm sitting on my couch, or I'm sitting on my bed right now. But just really allow yourself to feel your body being supported by whatever vehicle is supporting you at this moment. No, don't have any tension holding yourself up in your chair, but feel your body, your muscles relaxing and allowing yourself to be supported by your chair. No tension. There's hope and future for me, for my family, because I love beyond my sphere. I love beyond my scope. I love for there to be welfare in my city, for there to be shalom for all in my city. Let your spirit start to reach out for that. And by spirit, I mean that part of you that's inside, that's actually bigger and longer lasting than this container we call the body. Just feel yourself as spirit in this moment. What does your spirit look like that's contained inside the body? That is the eternal essence of you. For some, that may be multiple emotional states inside. Yeah, just let all of you share in this moment of being recognized as a spiritual being, not this temporary vehicle, but this eternal essence of us that will go on beyond this life. When that spiritual being is really at its fullest and feeling as this whole eternal part of us, where do you see that spirit being abiding and inhabiting? Where is a place that you can feel the fullness of your spirituality? Let your spirit go there in your mind, in your imagination. Let your spirit be in that place. Maybe it's a forest, it's a mountain, it's a meadow. It can be a place you've been before or a place you've just imagined. It can be a church where you found solitude. It can be a bedroom where you felt safe. Just let your spirit go there right now in your imagination and be in that moment. If a worry for the day comes in, oh, I can't forget to do that. Take it and set it aside and say, anxiety, I'm going to put you over there. I'll come back and get you in a minute. Don't let yourself linger on the worries of the day right now. Just for this short time together, let's refuse to have tension in those anxieties. Our spiritual personhood, sitting in that spiritual place in your imagination, in your mind, in your spirit, if you will. Just feel the surroundings of that place. Feel, if you're outside, feel the wind on your face. Smell the aromas. Let all of your senses be in that moment. I smell my incense burning with me in this moment. It reminds me that I'm alive, that I'm good, that I am worthy of an abundant life. You are worthy of an abundant life. Not because you follow a rule code, but because you breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Because you exist. I declare you valuable today. So now as you sit as your spiritual self in this spiritual place of this spiritual moment, I want you to have a sense of the supernatural around you, of the divine, of God, whatever God looks like to you. God may be that personified being that Christians believe about in the Bible, or God may be spirit, as the Christian Bible tells us God is. God may be an essence or a creative force that you feel around you, as the Bible tells us God is. God may be I am, just the essence of all life, as the Christian Bible tells us God is. God may be a collection of all of us as sons of man, as the Bible tells us God is. What does it feel like to be in the presence of something divine and supernatural that tells you the plans for you are good, that you can have hope and believe there is a good future ahead for you. Just have a sense of that presence right now. And if you can feel that presence with you, amazing. Just revel in that feeling for a moment. If not, it's okay. Just sit peacefully and enjoy a moment of feeling yourself as spirit. And if you like, you can ask that essence of the divine that's with you any question you want to ask. Do I have hope? Do I have a future? How do I be okay in this meltdown? What do I need to know about this situation of my life for my kids, for my spouse? What would you ask God if you could sit with God right in this moment and allow your spirit to sense that you are with the essence of the spirit of heaven, that good spirit of the divine, and ask your question. And just wait and see if you can hear, sense, feel an answer come to you in this moment. Did you hear or sense anything? It's okay if you didn't. We're learning this together to be spiritual beings that aren't begging an old man sitting on a throne for favor. We're learning the beauty of the spirit in us, interacting with the spiritual world of the divine, which is our right as spiritual beings, not as something we have to beg a God for and say, well, I tried my best to live by your rules today. Would you love me even though I wasn't perfect? That's not the world Jesus came to demonstrate to us. So feel the feelings of this moment of your spiritual essence, sitting in the presence of goodness, of eternal wholeness, of eternal welfare. Say, I can have hope in the middle of cultural meltdown because I am good and worthy of good things to happen. And when I know I'm good and worthy of good things happening, I can be good to others and want good things to happen for them. So with gratefulness, we release our connection to the divine spirit of heaven, and we bring our spirit back. Our essence comes back into our body. Thank you, Sugar Plum. Let's express gratefulness to one another. The light in me recognizes the light in you, and I say namaste for you being with me today on this journey, this spiritual moment. Thank you. And now be grateful to yourself that you took the time to give yourself this spiritual moment. Hi, Tiff. Good morning. Thank you, self, for taking time for me. Thank you for the rose, Sugar Plum. Amen. Well, thank you for sharing this spiritual moment with me. Let me take our music down. All the mods are here. I love you. Love you too, DB Venus. So I'd love if you want to share what were you sensing and feeling today in our special time together? What did you hear from the divine of heaven? I'd love for you to comment and share if you can. And also, I always give an invitation to go to my website, pastor-paul.com. You can sign up for my newsletter there. Thank you, Karen, for the gift, the rose. That's awesome. Thank you for the likes, Tiff. What did you hear? What did you sense? I would love for you to share. Zoe, thank you. I love the word Zoe. I love the name Zoe. If I had another child, I think I would name them, him or her, male or female Zoe. I just love that word. It means life abundant. Is that right, Zoe? Is that your understanding of it? And maybe it's Zoe for you, but the Hebrew pronunciation, as I understand it, is Zoe. Sugar Plum says they heard, "Don't be discouraged by the current situation." I'm going to put my incense out now. Thank you. Well, that's beautiful. I'm really happy that you heard that from the divine today. Live in hope. So I hope that living in hope is not an onerous command, because sometimes what Christians will say is like, just get over it and live in hope. What I hope you're feeling is that it's okay to be nervous and discouraged or fighting, but that you can reach out in hope in the midst of all of that. It is okay to be scared. It is a scary time, but hope can come in the middle of those scary times. Thank you for the roses, Tiffany. I had a sense of calm today. The tears came. That's awesome. I'm losing hope, says Zoe. Well, I hope what I'm sharing with you today is in a time of hopefulness, a life verse that probably more Christians use, Jeremiah 29:11, as their life verse as just about any other verse in the Bible. And that was a verse given in a time where people were scared and wondering if they had hope. And the writer of that passage wasn't saying, have hope because bad things aren't going to happen. He was saying, oh no, bad things are going to happen, but you can still have hope in the midst of those. You can still reach out with love to others, and reaching out with love to others brings a hope and a welfare to ourself. When we seek the welfare of the community around us, our welfare is found in that. Yes, that's exactly where I am, says Sugar Plum. Sorry, my eyes are burning. Very emotionally challenged, but trying to be hopeful. Good. Sorry, guys, my eyes are burning. The incense got into them. Ugh. I know some people had questions before. You're welcome to ask your questions now. They may have not stuck around. Tiff says, that was my dad's favorite scripture. Wow. Yeah, it's a very popular Christian scripture. But not very often do we realize that that was a promise given in the middle of great calamity and cultural collapse, not in the middle of a good moment in history. No, it was in the middle of a complete cultural meltdown. Their religion and their very sanctity of their nation was being overrun and taken down, quite similarly to what's happening in the United States today. Although the enemy is internal, in our case, it was external in the case of the book of Jeremiah. So, thoughts, questions? What did you feel in our mindfulness time together today? Thank you guys for the likes. Thank you, Tiffany. Andrea Miller says, I sense that even though the plans I had didn't come to fruition, that I will be okay and to keep going. Yeah, I'm so sorry your plans didn't come to fruition. I know that feeling. I'm having that sense in my own life right now. So what does wellness, what does welfare, what does being okay look like in the middle of that? Sugar Plum says, please continue to have these truth-telling sessions. They are very restorative. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And don't forget to check out my website here. I'll type it into the comments on TikTok so that we can share together. You can sign up for my newsletter. And if you're able to, you can be a part of my support community and support my work for as little as of a subscription of $5.99 a month, if you can afford it. How can I join your Sunday community meetings on Zoom, says Sugar Plum. So if you go to my bio on TikTok there or on YouTube, guys, there's links to our Sunday community website. It has the Zoom link in it, or go to my website, pastor-paul.com. The Zoom link is on there. If you can't find it, send me an email through my website and we'll point you to the right direction. But that's how you join us on Sunday community. Those are 10 a.m. Pacific on Sunday mornings. We just share life. We chew on concepts around the Christian Bible, and we share in the Christian tradition of communion together. And you don't have to be a Christian to be a part of our community or take communion with us. DB Venus has got to go. Okay, love you, Venus. Have a great day. I don't know, Jamie, there were some questions earlier. I guess I'm sure those people have moved on because they didn't want to hang around probably for the spiritual aspects of what we were doing. If Adam and Eve never existed, why did Jesus need to die for us? So I believe Jesus' death on the cross is something very different than the evangelical description of, the ancient Hebrew belief, or I shouldn't say ancient Hebrew belief, the group of Jewish people who became Christian. And I don't think even the early church believed this. I think it's quite quite different. So I do personally believe Adam and Eve are allegorical rather than literal. And I don't believe at all in the theology of original sin or human depravity. And so the idea that there is a God sitting on a throne in heaven who created a sin code so that he could demand worship from us or else set us on fire for eternity is kind of a ludicrous belief system. And that came from an ancient humanity. Thinking good thoughts for you, Sugar Plum. So then the idea that that same God had to send his son to earth and beat the hell out of him on a cross in Roman execution so that I could go to heaven is a pretty convoluted belief system. I think what is the much greater truth and what really the Bible is all about is a divine wholeness of heaven that ancients described in a human personification of God as a patriarchal king type authority sitting on a throne, is more of the collection of our essence and our spirit of a wholeness, of a spirit of goodness that is supernatural, saying, stop making man-made law codes that allow you to say you're righteous and those people are not, to like be able to say, well, I may be crap, but I'm better than those people, which is what religion is all about, is to make us feel self-righteous. Like, well, I feel terrible. I'm taught this terrible theology that I'm horrible and that God hates me, but at least I'm better than those people who are, gay, Muslim, you name it, whatever we define ourselves as, CRT people or trans people, whatever Christians use to make themselves feel better than other people. Thank you for sharing the live, Sugar Plum. We bless you. Our energy and love is with you in that doctor's office. And the essence of the story is get rid of the sin code and live in relationship with heaven and with humanity. Like Jesus said, he prayed, let it be on earth as it is in heaven. It's a very different thing than the Christian teaching. So God didn't need to beat the hell out of Jesus on a tree to make us able to go to heaven. Jesus was teaching a radical teaching that the power structures of his day were going to be destroyed and brought down, and a better life was coming. And he knew that teachers who did that in the first century were executed by the Romans, and he was sure that his execution was forthcoming, but was willing to lay down his life for others to make sure the message of the goodness of heaven got out. So it's not salvation. Sozo, the Greek term is not about Jesus dying on the cross and by us becoming a Christian in the belief of that process, we get to go to heaven. No, it was of a teacher saying, if you live a life displayed by me, your spirit will connect with the goodness of the spirit of heaven, and you will bring heaven to earth and advance the kingdom of heaven on earth. So it isn't Jesus had to die. That's a poor translation of the theology of the evangelical and Western Christian church, rather than the essence of the story of the Bible, which is the law code. The rules are man-made. Get rid of them and live in relationship with heaven and with earth. I see that, Tiff. JGAT says, thank you for your mature spirituality. You're welcome. Wow, that's a big compliment. Tiff says, sorry, I didn't mean to say praying for you. Know that you don't like that. Sugar Plum says, I grew up in a community where I was thought about the 2300 days prophet, and if I didn't believe it, I was lost. 23, is that the Daniel prophecy? I think all that end times prophecy that I learned about in the church growing up, first off, it's been wrong every day of my life. Every prediction that's ever been made about it has been wrong, and so the prophets just moved the goalpost. Oh, well, it wasn't Jesus coming in 1983. He's coming in 1984. Here's 84 reasons why he's coming in 1984. Oh, I wrote a new book, 88 reasons Jesus is coming in 1988. It's ridiculous at its core. And so, we had hundreds and hundreds of prophets in my lineage of the church prophesying that Donald Trump would win the 2020 election. And not one prophesied that COVID was going to shut down the world's economy and keep us all in our houses. So help me understand prophets. Come on, prophets. Every one of you, by biblical definition, ought to be stoned because of 2019 and 2020. You proved that you're not a prophet. You are a profiteer, quite likely. And very few of those prophets have admitted they got it wrong in the case of Donald Trump continuing on as president. Now they're trying to find ways to perpetuate it and find a new way to make him president. But their prophecies were dead fucking wrong. So don't trust a prophet who said Donald Trump was going to be president, who didn't say COVID was coming, and who hasn't apologized for being dead wrong on the election. Do not listen to those people. They are not prophets. FDT. All right, any other thoughts, questions, guys? I got a few more minutes. Thanks for the likes, Tiffany. I do this Tuesday mornings, really trying to figure out if this is one, that people like, or if this may not be a profitable place to spend time. Just trying to find what people need to gather together in spirituality. Therapy dog joined. Hi, therapy dog. I have allergies today. Mm. I didn't realize you had regular live stream on Tuesday mornings. It's very nice. Yep, we do this on Tuesday mornings. I do walk and talks throughout the week. And then Sunday morning, we have Sunday community. Oh, by the way, I've got a podcast releasing on Thursday from a TikTok creator named Joe Lumen. If you've never seen Joe, um, you've got to check her out. It's one of my favorite episodes of my podcast ever, and it'll be released on Thursday. And you're gonna love Joe Lumen. She is amazing. Leuhmann. You got to check her out. Tiffany says it's hard for me to join sometimes, but it's good and very helpful. Thank you, Tiff. I understand not everybody can be here all the time. Thank you for the hope you give and the clarity. Thank you, Karen. And I'm not saying Karen from the boomer Karen perspective. Your name appears to be Karen. And thank you for the thank you. You guys are awesome. All right. 2 more minutes. Anything else? Any other questions anybody has? Anything else you want to share? Yeah. Yeah, you have to be careful when you say Karen. Thanks, Karen. I'm sure Karen has experienced that in her life. I hate my name nowadays. Yeah, no kidding. I wonder if can you like go by a nickname like Cat or something like that right now? I'm sorry, Karen. That I guess if your name is Karen or Brandon right now, it's a bad time to have those names because of a lot of assholes around us in culture today. Caro, that could work. Good idea. Yeah, I don't know, Cat or Car or Kate. I don't know. I guess when you go to Starbucks or something, you could just say my name is like Joan or whatever you wanna make up. My friend is Carolina, so we call her Caro, same thing. Kay, you could just my name is Kay. Claimed your name, times will change. That's true. Don't let the bastards steal your name. That's probably the best statement of it all, so thank you, JGat. Nickname used to be Sunshine, maybe I'll use that. Ooh, that's cool, I like that. Okay, guys, I better get going and moving on my day. Thank you for joining me. Namaste. In this moment, love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. YouTube, see you soon. Don't forget to go to my website, pastor-paul.com. We'll see you Sunday for Sunday Community, Thursday, the release of the podcast with Joe Lumen, and we'll see you. Namaste to you, JGat.